Yo, 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 it's your friendly neighborhood knucklehead, and in this video, I want to talk about narcissism, and specifically, how creatives can be easy targets for narcissistic people, and what the dangers are for getting involved with a narcissistic person if you are an artist. Now, I want you to notice that I use the term narcissistic people and not the term narcissist, even though I did put it in the title. But the reason I did that is because we're throwing around this word narcissist as a label, as an insult, as something that can be like a buzzword. But the reality is we all embody narcissistic traits, and it's when those traits become dominant that we throw the label on someone as being a narcissist. And I want to kind of stray away from that and the label aspect and just kind of talk about really selfish, energy-taking people that have strong traits of being narcissistic. Now, in my last video, and I'll put a link up there, I talked about childhood sensitivity being a major factor in putting us on a path to becoming creative people, even if we weren't artistic in childhood. And that sensitive, creative nature also meshes right along with becoming an empathetic person. And I also wrote a blog on this that I'll pin in the comments for you to check out as well. And now, being that sensitive, creative, empath person, that is something that narcissistic people kind of need in order to be able to coexist and get energy from. And so this leads me to my first point. Why are we easy for narcissistic people to bond with? Well, it's a few things, but first off, we have similar childhood trauma. Narcissistic people and empathic people both have a very similar core wound from childhood that results from childhood neglect, childhood abuse, and these dysfunctional environments feel familiar. But the main difference is the narcissistic person operates in a different way than the empathic person. It's like two sides of the same coin, where you have the narcissistic person needs to take energy in order to satisfy that wound and satisfy their needs not being met with themselves, versus the empathic person who's more of a giver, giving energy because they can't meet their own needs sometimes. And now this kind of sounds like a perfect balance. You have a giver and a taker. Like, what could go wrong? Well, the reality is that this is actually like a match made in hell. It's actually a cycle of going on and on and on, where the taker can't take enough and the giver can't give enough. Now this leads to my second question. Why is this so bad? Well, what we have formed between the empathic person and the narcissistic person is a trauma bond. Now, trauma bond is also something that is a real buzzword, and I think it's becoming more and more popular. I think people are starting to recognize these things in their relationships with other people, whether it's a romantic one, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a roommate, whether it's somebody that is just in your life at all. We are completing each other as opposed to being whole and complete ourselves. So if we are completing each other, we are not healing each other. It's like a hungry hippo that's never satisfied. The narcissistic person is just going to take, and we are just going to give, and then eventually we turn into this non-judgmental, caring, giving person into a codependent. Now, when we become codependent, we are hoping and wishing that this narcissistic person is going to someday realize all the stuff we've been giving to them and all of the the effort and all of the energy and everything that we've been putting towards them, at some point we'll be recognized for it, we'll be acknowledged, and then we'll feel safe. But the reality is that we start more and more operating in a traumatic survival fight or flight state because we start feeling at any point that narcissistic person is going to leave because they are not getting enough. They are not satisfied with all that they are taking from us.
It's never enough.
Ultimately, the real thing that is going to be sacrificed is everything that we hold personal to us. Once we become codependent and we start engaging with what our trauma response is, then we start letting go of the things that we use to self-soothe, to self-care, to just make ourselves happy. And the biggest one is going to be having the energy and the mental capacity to be able to create. If all of our energy just goes towards another person, and this can even be a parent, a parental figure in your life, depending on how old you are, if they are just constantly making you do more and more, your grades are never good enough, your performance in whatever activity or passion that you have is never good enough, then ultimately we're heading down a cliff, and at some point we're just gonna drive right off of it and completely bottom out. And that was my story with my relationship patterns, and it was also the story with my parental patterns, where I had a parent where nothing was good enough for them and my parents never got along. So it was like I was in this environment where there was total dysfunction always. And even though I wasn't happy about it, I normalized it. It's a natural thing as children to normalize and internalize the things that we grew up with. And that gave way for my last relationship to be so incredibly intense, where the trauma bond formed very fast and very quick, and I was off to the races. However, in the second year, that love bombing thing wore off, and it just became breadcrumbing, where this person I was with was just constantly taking, and it felt like no matter what, I could never do anything that would satisfy the situation completely. There was always something wrong. And here's the other side of being with a narcissistic person. A lot of times, things going on in their life, their drama with their friends, their drama with their family, just their drama in general, they bring that home to you to deal with. And then you're supposed to be the person that smooths it all out, makes it all okay, and tries to get them back to their fighting form. But this cycle of them going out, getting all upset or worked up on something and then bringing it back home to you, and then it becomes your hot potato. Again, it's taking energy, and it takes your energy away from creating. Let me know in the comments below if you have any experience with this or what your thoughts are on a situation like this. And if you made it this far in the video, you might as well give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'm also gonna talk more about this stuff in my artistic advice and awareness playlist, which you can find up here. There's a bunch of cool videos in there that are definitely going to help, and there's gonna be more stuff on narcissistic people in the future. And up here, I'm gonna put the playlist that I have, which is on my healing journey in my vlog series, where I talk about this specific thing and what I've been doing to heal from this last relationship and to heal the wounds of my upbringing. So thanks for watching, and stay creative.